Okay, so here we are talking about the painful truth. We romanticize our relationships, right? Whether you're coming from our Muslim culture or, well, religious background, but even the culture around it. It could be Middle Eastern, it could be South Asian, it could be African. We spend way too much time, regardless of what your culture is, we spend way too much time watching Bollywood movies growing up, right? In terms of just how romantic it is and just how inappropriate it is to talk about relationships and to talk about love and to fall in love and all of those different kind of things, right? My dad used to like to quote, um, I guess, a Bollywood movie from like the 1970s or something like that. And it was, I guess it translated to, if you're in love, then why are you scared? Like, if you had the courage to fall in love, then you should have the courage to tell everybody about it, right? Otherwise, just don't do it. And my dad used to say that all the time because he was just like, you're not a real man if you can't actually express what you feel and then you can't follow through on it. And I think well, first of all, we're basically scared. We're scared shitless into you can't date, you can't talk to people from the opposite sex. And so we do a lot of hiding. And we put ourselves into really stupid, precarious situations, right? Like, I have a friend who told me, he was a white guy, he was a colleague of mine. He was telling me that his Christian white daughter was dating a Muslim guy, and they would be in the car together. And every time someone he knew drove by, she would have to duck and hide so that nobody would see her in the car with him. And I looked at my friend, like this colleague of mine, and I was like, why are you letting your daughter date this human? Like, this is ridiculous. If she has to, like, dive and just hide, and clearly, like, he's coming to your house and he's enjoying having dinners and getting to know your family, but she doesn't get to enjoy the same thing. She doesn't get to know, his family or any of those things. That's a big red flag. And we romanticize it so much. We watch too many Bollywood movies. I don't care. I've heard from people that are Middle Eastern, African, um, obviously South Asian. Everybody grew up on Bollywood movies. Everybody knows everything about how cute they are and how you hide things and how sweet and how romantic that is, until finally you can be together, and then it's like halal, and then it's like, it's like perfect, and, everything lives happily ever after. Well, yeah, because it's a fairy tale. But in real life, one of two things can happen. Either that guy is taking advantage of you, right? He has no intentions of ever marrying you or ever having a life with you. And he's going to have no consequences whatsoever because he hasn't introduced you to his family whatsoever at all. So that's one. Or two, he's also terrified. And if he's terrified as well, do you really want to be with a coward who can't stand up to his own parents, right? Who can't, like, have a conversation with them about what he wants? In Islam, you cannot force somebody. You cannot force your child to marry somebody they don't want to. And so, especially if you happen to be two Muslims that fall in love and want to get married, there really isn't a compelling argument on why you can't, right? So I just find it so ridiculous. And hey, I am calling the kettle black. I've done it. I did it, right? I remember, um, you know, I would get picked up from like a block away from this guy that I was with, right? And it was the same thing. Like, his parents owned a store in town, like a bakery, and he would be working there. And I would walk in with my parents sometimes, and we would like pretend like we don't even know each other. But we were together for like 3 years. or something like that, right? It was school, it was crazy, it was stupid. But you know what I mean. But like we never said anything to anyone. And ultimately, of course, it didn't end up working out. Um, because there was no real skin in the game for either of us. I never told my family. He never told his family. And your cousins don't count. And your siblings, if they're cool with you, they don't count. Because that's not consequential either. Because they're doing the same thing, right? So you can hang out with your cousins and you can hang out with your siblings because they're bringing their person too. And everything's just like this weird game of hide and seek. And there's no accountability. And without accountability, right? It's exactly what my dad would always say. If you have the courage to fall in love, then have the courage to follow through on it. And if you don't, then just wait. Trust me, just wait. I have seen way too many stories and way too many situations. And guys, I love you. I have so many wonderful brothers from like all religions, all walks of life, all nationalities, ethnicities, all that kind of stuff. And you're great. I'm not talking about you. Like, you're my brothers, you're good humans. That's why you're in my circle. I'm talking about like a lot of guys that will do all kinds of crazy, shitty things and then go to the mosque and pray and have zero consequences. I know guys that have like knocked up girls, completely destroyed their lives, and then it was as if nothing happened and they got to go back home, wherever back home their families are from, to some freaking village somewhere, some uneducated girl who is also being victimized at this point because she never got an education. She's coming from a village, and now she's being shipped to the West to her dream guy who has actually knocked up somebody else and probably done the same with other women as well before this, and has not had to bear any consequences of this. So, what's to say that he's not going to cheat on this poor girl that is coming, you know, all of her hopes and her dreams and everything, and going like across the sea, you know, across the oceans to be with this guy? And she's been promised all these things about what a great life she's going to have. And maybe, God bless her, she gets to live in that ignorance and never understands exactly what happened to her and who she actually married. That might actually be a bigger blessing for her than not. But I've seen that opposite too. I've seen those girls, and they come and they're so excited and they're so happy, and then they realize, oh, I'm the person that his parents wanted and I'm the one for society, but he's got a side piece. Oh, okay. Or, you know, these are his habits, or these are his whatever else. So sometimes, especially when we're really young, and especially when our hormones are involved, and especially when we're watching all of these different movies, Hollywood and Bollywood and Disney and whatever, and all these things, and romance is so important, and we're lonely, and we're human, and we want to feel affection, and we want to feel love, and we want to feel like, you know, we have our own person. We put ourselves in these situations, and we ignore what Islam actually says, which is lower your gaze. It is more manly to control your lust than it is to speak about testosterone and weird stuff that I see on videos about like men and how they can't control themselves. And you're not an animal, right? Like you're human. You have a brain. You've been given free will, free choice. And so it is better to control your nafs and to lower your gaze, man or woman, and find ways to be in a halal situation where you can talk and people know that this is your intention and you could get to know each other. I'm not saying don't date. I'm not saying don't do any of that stuff. And look, like I said, I am always the kettle calling the, wait, what is it? something, calling something black. I don't know. I lost the quote, but whatever it is. I'm the hypocrite in this situation because I've done it all. But I'm hoping because I've done it all, because I've seen it all, my sincere dua, my sincere intention is that maybe you can see this crazy woman on the interwebs, right? And be like, okay, she's putting herself out there, she's telling all these stories, and maybe she's onto something. I just don't want you to have to make the same mistakes I did. I don't want you to have to go through that same journey. I'm grateful for my journey because it brought me back to where I needed to be. And it's brought me to a place where I'm very grateful to God for who I am and where I am. And it has helped me to truly, truly understand just how forgiving Allah is, just how much He tolerates all of our sins, all of our mistakes, all of our issues. I was taught everything. I was taught what to do and what not to do. My issue was I didn't understand. It either wasn't taught to me in the way that I needed to hear it, or I absolutely just disobeyed it because I wanted to, or because I was just weak, or because I was lonely, or whatever reason, right? But all that to say, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, I'm about to sing a song. Never mind. It's a ridiculous song that just popped into my head. But if you do want to be happy for the rest of your life, then take your time, be patient, look for the right situation where you don't have to hide. Of course, don't broadcast every person that you're like talking to or, considering for marriage or whatever else, but like take your time and make sure that you don't have to like, I don't know, like army dive into the back seat of a car so that the dude's parents don't see you, right? That's just not okay. It's not okay anywhere. And unfortunately, especially our Eastern like dramas, whether it's like a Hindu drama, like a Hindi drama, or like a Bollywood thing, or like Korean dramas, or Turkish dramas, or and Egyptian dramas, like all of those different kind of things that we all get addicted to and we all watch, right? Even these like telenovelas from like some of them from the Latin American countries will have this kind of like hidden romance and all this stuff and young love and whatever, and that sounds great. But the practicality of it is it typically doesn't work out the way that we want it to. And there is a safety in openness. There is a safety in your loved ones knowing exactly where you are and what you're doing and who you're with. And there's an accountability for that. And I hope that everybody stays safe. And I hope that everybody knows. I hope you all know that Allah made you the way you are because He made you perfect. You were supposed to be who you are. And there is a match made in heaven for every single person. Sometimes it just takes some time to find that person, and that's okay, right? I wish you peace, and I certainly wish that you never have to army dumpster dive into the backseat of a car. The indignity of it, good God.